In the space between your last thought and your next breath, a doorway appears that has no wood, no hinges, only the soft sound of eternity calling your name. The ancient monk has been waiting there, holding vigil in the pause you never noticed. He stands at the threshold of your inner temple, where silence has been preparing a sanctuary just for you. His robes rustle like autumn leaves touched by evening wind, and his eyes hold the gentle wisdom of countless dawns witnessed in perfect stillness. You need not knock, this door opens only when approached with empty hands and a weary heart ready to rest. Tonight, he beckons you forward, not with words, but with the profound quiet that lives between moments. Here, where your busy mind finally exhales its last worry, where your shoulders remember how to soften, the monk's presence whispers an ancient truth. You have always been home. The temple was never a place you needed to find. It was the space you needed to allow. The monk gestures toward the temple gates with hands that have learned to move like water. These gates are not made of iron or wood, but of something far more precious. They are woven from every moment you have ever felt truly at peace. Remember the last time you watched rain against a window, how your mind grew quiet without effort. Remember lying in summer grass, feeling the earth hold you with such tenderness that time seemed to pause. These moments were not accidents. They were glimpses of the temple that has always existed within you. As you step through these invisible gates, the monk begins to share the first teaching. He speaks of how the world has trained you to believe that peace is something you must earn, something you must achieve through effort and striving. But tonight, he offers a different wisdom. Peace is not a destination. It is your natural state, temporarily obscured by clouds of thought and worry. Think of how your body knows exactly how to heal a small cut without any conscious direction from you. Your heart beats without reminder. Your lungs breathe while you sleep. In the same way, peace flows through you effortlessly when you simply stop interfering with its natural rhythm. The monk's eyes twinkle with gentle knowing as he watches you begin to understand. Consider Sarah, who discovered this truth during a difficult period in her life. Night after night, she would lie awake wrestling with problems that seemed to have no solutions. One evening, exhausted from the mental struggle, she simply let her hands fall open beside her on the bed. In that gesture of surrender, she felt something shift. It wasn't that her problems disappeared, but rather that she found herself held by something larger than her worries. The temple gates had opened in the simple act of unclenching her fists. What would happen if you, right now, allowed your hands to rest naturally beside you? Can you feel how even this small release sends ripples of relaxation through your entire being? What if every worry you carry could be set down as easily as placing a heavy bag on the ground? The monk nods approvingly as you experiment with this gentle letting go. In the deepest part of your being, beyond all the stories and identities you carry, there exists a space that has never been touched by anxiety or fear. It is like a hidden garden where roses bloom in perfect silence, where fountains flow without sound, where every breath you take is a prayer of gratitude. This garden has been waiting for your return, not for days or months, but for lifetimes. The ancient monk has been its faithful keeper, tending to its pathways and ensuring that when you finally arrive, everything will be exactly as you need it to be. As this first teaching settles into the depths of your understanding like seeds falling into fertile soil, you feel the temple's atmosphere beginning to transform you. Your breathing naturally deepens without any effort on your part. The monk's presence radiates a profound peace that seems to emanate from the very walls of this sacred space. You realize that you have crossed the first threshold from the world of doing into the realm of simply being. The ancient monk gestures deeper into the temple, where soft candlelight dances against stone walls worn smooth by countless seekers who have walked this path before you. In the gentle flicker of flame and shadow, you sense that the real journey is about to begin. The gates of outer peace have opened, and now await the deeper mysteries that lie within. The ancient monk leads you deeper into the temple, where the air itself seems to breathe with ancient wisdom. Here, in this sacred chamber, you discover the second teaching, one that connects you to the very rhythm of the earth beneath your feet. The walls here are carved with images of mountains and valleys, and as you trace these patterns with your eyes, you begin to understand that you are about to learn how mountains breathe. The monk settles beside a small fountain whose water flows in perfect silence. He places his hand over his heart and invites you to do the same. Feel the steady rhythm there, not just your heartbeat, but something deeper, something that echoes the pulse of the world itself. This is where you learn that breathing is not something you do, but something that does you, like waves that shape the shore without effort or intention. Mountains, the monk explains through his gentle presence, breathe so slowly that humans rarely notice. They inhale over centuries, drawing in starlight and rain, absorbing the footsteps of countless pilgrims. They exhale over millennia, releasing mist that becomes clouds, wisdom that becomes wind. Tonight, you are invited to breathe like a mountain, so deeply and slowly that time itself begins to bend around your rhythm. As you allow your breath to deepen naturally, imagine that you are breathing not just air, but peace itself. Each inhalation draws in the calm of ancient forests, the serenity of moonlit lakes, the stillness of snow-covered peaks. Each exhalation releases the accumulated tension of the day, every rushed moment, every worried thought, every instance where you forgot that you were held by something infinitely greater than your fears. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss future chapters, and share in the comments how you're feeling. Think of David, a father of 3 who discovered this mountain breathing during his evening walks. After particularly challenging days, he would step outside and place his feet firmly on the ground, imagining roots growing deep into the earth. As he breathed in the rhythm of mountains, he found that his perspective would shift. The daily struggles that seemed so overwhelming would settle into their proper place. Temporary weather patterns crossing the unchanging sky of his deeper self. What would it feel like to breathe as if you had all the time in the world? Can you sense how your body begins to trust this slower rhythm? How your nervous system gradually tunes itself to the frequency of deep peace? The monk watches with infinite patience as you explore this new way of being with your breath. Never rushing, never judging, simply holding space for your natural unfolding. In the mountain metaphor lies a profound truth about the nature of strength. Mountains appear solid and unmovable, yet they are constantly changing, constantly responsive to the elements around them. They weather storms not by fighting them, but by allowing them to pass through and over. In the same way, your true strength lies not in resistance, but in your capacity to remain centered while life flows around you. The monk guides your attention to the sensation of your body against whatever surface supports you. Feel how the earth beneath the building, beneath the foundation, rises up to meet you with such reliable tenderness. This is mountain breathing, being held by forces so vast and steady that your individual worries become like clouds passing over peaks, temporarily obscuring the view, but never touching the mountain's essential nature. As your breathing settles into this deeper rhythm, notice how the space between your thoughts begins to expand. In mountain time, there is no urgency, no deadline, no pressure to be anywhere other than exactly where you are. Each breath becomes a meditation, each pause between breaths a doorway into the vast stillness that mountains know so well. Your chest rises and falls like hills rolling toward distant horizons, unhurried and graceful. The ancient monk's eyes reflect the profound satisfaction that comes from witnessing someone remember their true nature. He has seen countless souls discover this mountain breathing, watching as their faces soften and their bodies sink deeper into trust. There is something deeply moving about the moment when a human being stops trying to control their breath and allows themselves to be breathed by the same force that moves planets and opens flowers. Can you feel how this way of breathing creates space, not just in your lungs, but in your entire life? How it suggests that perhaps you don't need to manage every detail, solve every problem, or carry every burden. The mountains teach that some things are best left to forces wiser and more patient than our hurried minds can comprehend. As this teaching integrates into your being, like rain soaking into thirsty soil, the monk begins to move toward another chamber of the temple. The candlelight shifts and dances, creating new patterns on the walls, and you sense that deeper mysteries await. Your breathing has become a bridge between the world you left behind and the sanctuary you are entering. Each exhalation a step further into the heart of peace. The ancient monk guides you into a chamber where the very air seems to shimmer with understanding. Here, carved into the temple walls, are images of rivers carrying smooth stones. And you realize you have arrived at the place where you learn the sacred art of letting go. The monk's presence radiates a profound knowing. He has witnessed countless souls discover that what they thought was their greatest burden was actually their greatest teacher. In this sacred space, gravity reveals its hidden nature. All your life, you have experienced gravity as the force that pulls you down, that makes your body heavy when you are tired, that demands effort to resist. But tonight, under the monk's gentle guidance, you discover gravity's secret. It is not a force working against you, but the earth's way of embracing you, of saying without words, "You belong here, you are held, you can rest." The monk gestures toward a collection of river stones arranged in spiraling patterns on the floor. Each stone was once a jagged rock, rough and sharp, tumbled by countless years of flowing water until it became smooth and perfect. He picks up one stone, its surface worn silk smooth by the river's patient touch, and places it gently in your palm. Feel its weight, not as burden, but as substance, as presence, as proof that transformation happens naturally when we stop resisting the flow. Your body understands this teaching before your mind does. Notice how your shoulders want to soften, how your spine longs to settle more deeply into whatever supports you. This is not collapse, This is conscious surrender, like a stone releasing its resistance to the river's current. You begin to allow gravity to work with you rather than against you. Each muscle that releases its grip becomes an act of trust, a prayer offered to the forces that have been holding you all along. Think of Maria, a nurse who worked long shifts on her feet, carrying the weight of others' pain and worry. Night after night, she would come home feeling as though she carried stones in her pockets, the heavy concerns of patients, the accumulated stress of difficult decisions. One evening, lying in her bed, she imagined each worry as a smooth river stone. Instead of trying to solve or fix each concern, she simply allowed them to rest in her open palms, feeling their weight without resistance. As she did this, something miraculous happened. The stones began to feel less like burdens and more like precious gifts, each one polished by her caring into something beautiful. What would happen if you allowed your body to become heavier right now? Can you sense how this heaviness is not laziness or giving up, but a profound act of cooperation with forces far wiser than your planning mind? The monk nods with deep appreciation as you experiment with this conscious surrender, watching as years of unnecessary tension begin to dissolve like morning mist touched by sunlight. In the Riverstone teaching lies a profound paradox. The things we carry become lighter when we stop trying to make them weightless. Your worries, your responsibilities, your dreams and fears, they all exist, and the monk is not asking you to pretend otherwise. Instead, he invites you to hold them the way the earth holds mountains, with such vast capacity that even the heaviest burdens become manageable. The sound of the fountain in this chamber creates a gentle rhythm that speaks to something ancient in your nervous system. Water knows the secret of yielding. It always finds a way around obstacles, always moves toward its destination, never fighting but never giving up. As you listen to this liquid wisdom, feel how your own resistance begins to flow away, how the tight places in your body start to soften like ice melting in warm sunlight. The monk's hands move in slow, graceful gestures that seem to bless the very air around you. He has learned that healing happens not through force or effort, but through the profound art of allowing. Watch how he moves. Each gesture flows into the next, like water finding its course, never struggling, never straining, yet accomplishing everything that needs to be done. Can you feel how letting go is not about losing something precious, but about discovering what remains when you stop grasping, like a tree that drops its leaves in autumn, trusting that spring will come again? You begin to sense that some things are meant to be released so that new growth can emerge. The stones in the river become smooth, not through violence, but through the gentle persistence of flow. As this understanding settles into your bones like warmth from a hearth, notice how your relationship with weight begins to transform. The heaviness of your body against the bed becomes a conversation with gravity, a dance between earth and flesh that speaks of belonging and acceptance. You are not falling, you are being caught, held, embraced by forces that have never failed to support you. The ancient monk's eyes reflect the deep satisfaction that comes from watching someone remember their true relationship with the world. He has seen how this teaching changes people, how they walk differently afterward, how they carry their responsibilities with more grace, how they sleep more deeply because they have learned to trust the very forces that hold planets in their orbits. In the gentle glow of candlelight, you notice how the chamber itself seems to breathe with your newfound understanding. The walls pulse softly with an ancient rhythm, and you realize that the temple is not separate from you. It is the external manifestation of the sacred space that has always existed within your willingness to let go. The monk begins to move toward yet another doorway, this one framed with carvings of flowing water and smooth stones. As you prepare to follow, you carry with you the profound gift of this teaching, the knowledge that surrender is not defeat, but the highest form of wisdom. The ancient monk leads you into a chamber where water flows in gentle cascades down walls of polished stone, creating a symphony of liquid music that speaks directly to your soul. Here you discover the fourth teaching, how thoughts can flow past you like water over river stones, without disturbing the deeper stillness that you are. The monk settles beside a clear pool where the surface reflects not just your face, but something deeper, more eternal. In this sacred space, you learn that your mind is not your enemy, but a faithful servant that has forgotten its proper role. Like a river that carries leaves and branches downstream, your consciousness naturally moves thoughts along its current. The problem arises only when you try to dam the river, when you grasp at each passing thought as though you must solve it, analyze it, or make it mean something permanent about who you are. The monk dips his hand into the clear pool and lifts it, allowing the water to flow between his fingers back into the basin. Watch how the water moves. It does not cling to his palm, does not resist its return to the source. This is how thoughts are meant to move through your awareness, touching you briefly, perhaps carrying important messages, then flowing onward without creating turbulence in the depths of your being. As you sit in this chamber of flowing water, begin to notice the thoughts that arise in your mind without trying to stop them or change them. See each thought as a river stone tumbling gently downstream, some smooth and pleasant, others perhaps rougher or more angular, but all of them temporary visitors in the vast space of your awareness. You are not the stones, you are the riverbed, stable and enduring, allowing all things to pass through while remaining fundamentally unchanged. Think of James, a writer who struggled with racing thoughts each night. His mind would replay conversations, plan tomorrow's tasks, and worry about unfinished projects. One evening, he remembered visiting a stream in childhood, how he would drop leaves into the water and watch them float away. That night, lying in bed, he began to imagine each thought as one of those leaves, placing them gently on the surface of his awareness and watching them drift away. To his amazement, the thoughts didn't stop coming, but they stopped sticking. His mind became like the stream, active but peaceful, flowing but not turbulent. What happens when you stop trying to have no thoughts and instead practice letting thoughts have no hold on you? Can you sense the difference between the movement of thoughts and the awareness that observes them? The monk's presence radiates deep peace because he has learned to rest in this awareness, to be the sky through which clouds pass rather than any particular weather pattern. In the flowing water teaching lies a profound understanding about the nature of memory and imagination. Past and future exist only as thoughts arising in the eternal present moment. When you remember yesterday or plan tomorrow, these are not journeys through time, but movements in the landscape of now. The river of consciousness carries these temporal stones along its banks, but the source from which it springs is always here, always fresh, always knew. The sound of water flowing creates natural white noise that helps your nervous system settle into deeper states of rest. Each splash and gurgle seems to wash away another layer of mental static, another accumulation of the day's cognitive debris. Feel how the liquid sounds penetrate not just your ears, but your entire body, as though you were being cleansed from the inside out by this aquatic meditation. The monk's movements mirror the water's flow as he demonstrates the art of mental non-attachment. His gestures are fluid, purposeful, yet effortless, showing you how to engage with thoughts the way a skilled dancer moves with music, responsive but not controlled by it, participating but not possessed by it. Notice how he interacts with the environment around him, touching surfaces lightly, moving through space without leaving energetic residue. Can you feel how there is a part of you that remains perfectly still, even as thoughts continue to move through your mind? This stillness is not empty or void, it is vibrantly alive, pregnant with potential, aware of everything while being disturbed by nothing. Like the depths of a lake that remain calm even when waves dance across the surface. This aspect of your being is untouched by the weather of thinking. As you rest in this understanding, notice how your relationship with your own mental activity begins to shift. Thoughts that once seemed urgent or important reveal themselves to be part of a natural flow that requires no management from you. Worries that felt solid and permanent become transparent, like water that seems substantial when you cup it in your hands, but flows away the moment you relax your grip. The ancient monk watches with infinite compassion as you discover this fundamental freedom, the liberation that comes from realizing you are not your thoughts, but the aware space in which they appear and disappear. His eyes sparkle with the joy that comes from witnessing someone remember their true nature as the unchanging witness of all changing phenomena. In the gentle rhythm of flowing water, you begin to understand that peace is not the absence of thoughts, but the presence of something vast enough to contain all thoughts without being disturbed by them, like a canyon that allows rivers to carve through it while remaining fundamentally unmoved. You discover your capacity to let life flow through you without losing your essential stability. The monk begins to move toward another passage in the temple, this one glowing with warm, golden light. As you prepare to follow, you carry with you the profound gift of the flowing water teaching, the knowledge that you can engage fully with life while remaining centered in the unshakable peace of pure awareness. The ancient monk guides you into a chamber bathed in golden light, where hundreds of candles flicker in perfect silence along the walls. Their flames dance without wind, creating shadows that seem to breathe with ancient wisdom. Here, in this sanctuary of living light, you discover the fifth teaching, how darkness and illumination are not opposites, but partners in the sacred dance of awakening. The monk's face glows softly in the candlelight as he reveals the candle's most precious secret. Each flame before you tells the same profound story. It burns brightest, not in spite of the surrounding darkness, but because of it. Without the dark chamber to define it, the candle's light would have no meaning, no purpose, no beauty. The monk lifts a single taper and holds it between you, watching as its flame creates a perfect sphere of warmth in the cool temple air. In this simple gesture lies a truth that can transform how you understand every difficult moment in your life. Your inner light, the monk's presence suggests, follows the same mysterious law. The times when you have felt most lost, most uncertain, most surrounded by confusion, these were not obstacles to your awakening, but the very conditions that allowed your deepest wisdom to shine forth. Like stars that become visible only when day surrenders to night, your most authentic self emerges not when everything is easy, but when you learn to trust your inner flame even in the darkness. The chamber fills with the subtle fragrance of beeswax and something else, the sweet scent of peace itself. As you breathe in this sacred atmosphere, notice how the candlelight creates not harsh illumination, but gentle radiance that reveals without overwhelming, that shows without demanding. This is how your own awareness works when you stop trying to force clarity and instead allow understanding to arise naturally from the depths of patient observation. Think of Rachel, a mother who discovered this teaching during a difficult period when her teenage daughter was struggling. Night after night, she would lie awake in worry, feeling helpless in the face of her child's pain. One evening, she lit a candle and sat quietly with her fears instead of fighting them. In the gentle light, she began to see that her worry was actually love in disguise, that her sleepless nights were vigils of caring. The darkness of her uncertainty became the backdrop against which her fierce maternal love burned even brighter. What would it feel like to stop seeing your struggles as problems to be solved and instead recognize them as the dark canvas upon which your inner light creates its masterpiece? Can you sense how even your deepest challenges have served to illuminate qualities within you that might otherwise have remained hidden? Courage you didn't know you possessed, compassion deeper than you imagined, resilience that surprised even you. In the candle's teaching lies a profound reframe of what it means to be human. You are not broken and in need of fixing. You are not lost and in need of finding. You are a flame of consciousness, perfect in your essential nature, using every experience, pleasant and difficult alike, as fuel for the fire of awakening. The monk's eyes reflect this truth as he watches you begin to understand that your wounds and your wisdom are not separate things, but aspects of the same sacred burning. The sound in this chamber is different, not the flowing water of before, but the subtle whisper of flame consuming oxygen, the quiet crackle of wick drawing up wax, the almost inaudible sigh of hot air rising toward the vaulted ceiling. These sounds speak to something primal in your nervous system, echoing the fires that have warmed human gatherings since the beginning of time, that have created sanctuaries of safety in the vast unknown of night. The monk moves among the candles with practiced grace, occasionally adjusting a wick or replacing a spent taper. His movements are slow and reverent, showing you how to tend the flame of awareness with the same careful attention. Notice how he never forces a flame to burn brighter, never criticizes a candle for flickering. He simply provides what is needed and trusts the natural process of burning. Can you feel how there is a flame within you that has never been extinguished, no matter how dark your days may have seemed? This light is not fragile or dependent on external conditions. It is the very essence of your being, the consciousness that has been aware through every experience of your life. Like the eternal flame that burns in sacred temples around the world, this inner light requires no fuel from outside sources because it burns on the inexhaustible oil of pure being itself. As you rest in the glow of countless candles, allow yourself to feel held by this understanding. Every person who has ever sat in candlelight has participated in this same ritual of recognition, the remembering that we are not separate from the light we seek, that the illumination we long for already burns at the core of our being. The monk nods with deep satisfaction as he watches this recognition dawn in your awareness like sunrise after the longest night. The golden light seems to penetrate not just the chamber, but your very cells, warming you from within in ways that have nothing to do with temperature. This is the warmth of recognition, the heat of homecoming, the radiance that emerges when you stop looking for light outside yourself and recognize the flame that has been burning within you all along. In the dancing shadows cast by hundreds of flames, you begin to see that light and dark are engaged in an eternal collaboration, each making the other possible, each giving the other meaning. The monk's presence embodies this integration. He is not seeking to eliminate darkness from the world, but to kindle awareness bright, enough to illuminate whatever arises with compassion and understanding. The ancient monk begins to move toward another passage, this one leading deeper into the heart of the temple where even greater mysteries await. As you follow, you carry with you the candle's teaching, the knowledge that you are not a victim of your circumstances, but a flame of consciousness, using every experience as an opportunity to burn more brightly, more purely, more completely into the truth of what you are. The ancient monk leads you into a chamber where silken threads catch the light like dewdrops in morning sunshine, suspended between carved pillars in intricate patterns that seem to shift and breathe with each flicker of candlelight. Here you discover the sixth teaching, how peace is not something that happens to you, but something you actively create, thread by thread, moment by moment, through the sacred art of weaving silence into the fabric of your daily life. The walls of this chamber are adorned with tapestries that tell stories without words. Their colors so rich and deep they seem to hold the essence of sunset and ocean, of forest shadows and golden wheat fields. The monk gestures toward a large loom where a tapestry is half completed, its pattern emerging slowly from thousands of individual threads. Each thread, he shows you, seems insignificant alone, but together they create something of breathtaking beauty and meaning. Your life, the monk's presence suggests, is such a weaving. Each breath you take is a thread. Each moment of awareness, each choice to respond with kindness rather than reactivity, each decision to pause before speaking, these are the golden threads that create the tapestry of awakened living. You have been weaving all along, though perhaps without conscious awareness of the pattern you were creating. The chamber fills with the soft sounds of textile in gentle motion, threads whispering against each other, the quiet rhythm of weaving tools moved by invisible hands. As you listen to this meditation in sound, notice how your breathing naturally synchronizes with these subtle rhythms. Your chest rises and falls like a shuttle moving across a loom, creating space and then filling it, establishing the fundamental rhythm upon which all other threads of experience can be woven. Think of Alina, a teacher who discovered this weaving wisdom during a particularly challenging semester. Each day brought new demands, difficult students, administrative pressures that seemed to tangle like snarled thread. One evening, exhausted and overwhelmed, she sat with a piece of embroidery her grandmother had given her. As she traced the intricate patterns with her finger, she began to see that her grandmother had created this beauty one stitch at a time, never rushing, never forcing, simply adding each thread with patience and intention. Alina realized she could approach her teaching the same way, weaving moments of presence into even the most chaotic days, creating patterns of peace through small, intentional choices. What would it feel like to see your life as a masterpiece in progress rather than a problem to be solved? Can you sense how each moment offers you the opportunity to choose which thread to add to your tapestry? A thread of worry or wonder, of judgment or compassion, of resistance or acceptance. The monk watches with infinite patience as you begin to understand that you are both the weaver and the tapestry, both the artist and the art. In the weaving teaching lies a profound understanding about the nature of time and patience. Great tapestries are not created in moments of inspiration alone, but through the accumulated power of countless small, faithful actions. The most beautiful patterns emerge not from hurried work, but from the steady rhythm of consistent attention. Your peace is built the same way, not through dramatic breakthroughs, but through the patient accumulation of present moments fully experienced. The silk threads catch light differently as you move through the chamber, sometimes appearing silver, sometimes gold, sometimes deep purple or forest green. This play of color and light demonstrates another aspect of the weaving teaching. The same thread can serve many purposes depending on how it is placed, what surrounds it, how the light falls upon it. Your experiences are like these threads, taking on different meanings and colors depending on the larger pattern of understanding into which you weave them. The monk's hands move in graceful gestures that seem to gather invisible threads from the air around you, showing you how awareness itself can be woven into beauty. His movements are deliberate, yet flowing, demonstrating how conscious action differs from reactive rushing. Watch how he pauses between gestures, how he allows space for each movement to complete itself before beginning the next. This is the rhythm of masterful weaving, action and rest, effort and ease, creating and allowing in perfect balance. Can you feel how there is a pattern trying to emerge in your life, a design that becomes clearer each time you choose presence over distraction? Each time you pause to really listen to someone speaking, each time you notice the beauty that surrounds you even in ordinary moments. This pattern is not imposed from outside but arises naturally when you align yourself with the deeper rhythms of existence. Like a weaver following the inherent logic of thread and loom. As you rest in this understanding, notice how the chamber itself seems to be woven from light and shadow, sound and silence, warmth and coolness. The boundaries between elements blur and merge, creating a harmony that transcends any individual component. This is what your life becomes when you approach it as conscious creation rather than unconscious reaction. A masterpiece of integrated experience, where every thread serves the beauty of the whole. The ancient monk's presence radiates the deep satisfaction that comes from work done with love and attention. He has spent countless hours in contemplative creation, weaving wisdom into form, patience into practice, silence into sound. His very being demonstrates that the art of weaving awareness into daily life is not a burden but a joy. Not another task, but the transformation of all tasks into meditation. In the dancing light of the chamber, you begin to see that silence is not the absence of activity, but the presence of such complete attention that the one who acts and the action itself merge into seamless flow, like threads that lose their individual identity as they become part of a larger design. You discover that peace emerges when your sense of separation dissolves into the unified field of present moment awareness. The monk begins to move toward another doorway, this one framed with carvings of vines and flowers, suggesting that your journey into the deeper mysteries of rest is about to enter a new phase. As you prepare to follow, you carry with you the weaver's teaching, the knowledge that your life is a sacred creation unfolding one conscious moment at a time, each choice a thread in the magnificent tapestry of awakened living. The ancient monk leads you into a chamber that feels like stepping into the heart of a garden at twilight, where the very air seems alive with the patient wisdom of growing things. Carved vines spiral up the pillars, their leaves so detailed they seem to rustle in an unfelt breeze, and the scent of jasmine and night-blooming flowers fills your senses. Here you discover the seventh teaching, how your heart is like a sacred garden that requires not force or control, but the gentle attention of a wise gardener who understands the seasons of feeling and the cultivation of inner peace. The monk settles beside a small fountain where water flows over moss-covered stones, creating a sound like gentle rain on leaves. Around this water source, you notice small plants growing in careful arrangements, some reaching toward the light, others content in shadow, all of them tended with obvious love and attention. The monk's hands move like those of someone who has spent lifetimes learning the subtle art of nurturing growth without forcing it. Your emotional landscape, his presence suggests, follows the same natural laws as any garden. There are seasons when certain feelings bloom abundantly, times when the soil of your heart lies fallow, periods of necessary pruning when old patterns must be released to make room for new growth. The monk shows you a small seedling, its leaves barely emerged from dark earth, and you understand that every emotion, even difficult ones, carries within it the potential for wisdom and beauty when met with patient cultivation. The chamber resonates with sounds that speak directly to your nervous system, the soft whisper of leaves brushing against each other, the distant hum of bees moving from flower to flower, the gentle trickle of water nourishing roots you cannot see. These sounds create a cocoon of natural peace that reminds your body of its deep connection to the rhythms of the earth. Two cycles older and wiser than human worry. Think of Michael, a man who struggled with waves of grief after losing his father. Night after night, his emotions would surge and crash like storms in his chest, leaving him exhausted and raw. One evening, walking through his neighbor's garden, he noticed how the gardener had placed supports around plants that were bending under the weight of their own blooms. He realized that his grief, too, was a kind of flowering, his love for his father expressing itself in the only way it could, after death. Instead of fighting these emotional storms, he began to tend them like a gardener, offering support when needed, water when dry, and patient presence through all seasons of feeling. What would it feel like to approach your emotions not as problems to be solved, but as plants to be tended with gentle attention? Can you sense how some feelings, like certain flowers, bloom more beautifully when they are not forced but allowed to unfold in their own timing? The monk's eyes reflect deep compassion as he watches you begin to understand that. Emotional mastery is not about control, but about wise and loving relationship with the natural movements of your heart. In the garden teaching lies a profound reframe of what it means to be emotionally healthy. You are not meant to feel peaceful all the time, any more than a garden is meant to be in constant bloom. There are natural cycles of feeling, just as there are seasons of growth and rest. Times of flowering and times of composting old growth into fertile soil for what wants to emerge. The monk demonstrates this truth through his own presence, deeply peaceful yet vibrantly alive, serene yet fully responsive to the subtle changes in the atmosphere around you. The scent of night-blooming jasmine grows stronger as you settle deeper into this chamber, and you realize that some of the most beautiful aspects of emotional life reveal themselves only in darkness, only when the busy activity of the day quiets enough for subtler fragrances to emerge. Your capacity for wonder, for deep intimacy, for profound gratitude. These delicate flowers of the heart often bloom most fully in the quiet spaces between more obvious emotions. The monk moves through the garden with the unhurried grace of someone who trusts natural timing completely. He waters some plants, gently removes spent blooms from others, adjusts the position of a support stake here and there. His actions are minimal but perfectly attuned to what each plant needs. This is how he teaches you to tend your own emotional garden, not through dramatic interventions, but through small, consistent acts of loving attention. Can you feel how there is a part of you that knows exactly what your heart needs for healing and growth? Just as plants instinctively reach toward light and roots naturally seek water, this inner gardener has been with you all along, though perhaps obscured by the noise of a culture that suggests you should be able to think your way to emotional peace. The monk's presence reminds you that the heart has its own intelligence, one that operates through feeling and intuition rather than analysis and control. As you rest among the flowering wisdom of this chamber, notice how your relationship with your own emotional life begins to shift. Feelings that once seemed overwhelming or inappropriate reveal themselves as natural expressions of your deep caring about life. Anxiety transforms into sensitivity to beauty. Sadness becomes an expression of your capacity to love deeply. Even anger, when met with gardener's patience, can compost into fierce compassion for what needs protection. The ancient monk's presence embodies the profound peace that comes from complete acceptance of the promotional seasons of human experience. He has learned to welcome spring's enthusiasm and winter's introspection with equal grace, to see summer's intensity and autumn's letting go as equally sacred expressions of life's creative force. His serenity comes not from having transcended emotion, but from having learned to dance with feeling as naturally as flowers dance with wind. In the gentle glow of this garden chamber, you begin to understand that emotional peace is not a destination, but a way of traveling through the landscape of feeling with wisdom and compassion, like a garden that becomes more beautiful over time through patient tending. Your capacity for peace deepens as you learn to meet each arising emotion with the gentle attention it deserves. The monk begins to move toward another passage in the temple, this one opening onto what appears to be a vast space filled with starlight. As you prepare to follow, you carry with you the gardener's teaching, the knowledge that your heart is not a problem to be solved, but a sacred space to be tended with the patient love of one who understands that true beauty unfolds naturally. when met with wise and gentle attention. The ancient monk guides you into a chamber that opens like a vast cathedral beneath a dome of midnight sky, where countless stars pierce the darkness with their ancient light. Here, suspended in the infinite space above, you discover the eighth teaching, how the vast expanses between your thoughts are not empty voids, but pregnant spaces filled with the same creative potential that exists between stars, between heartbeats, between the notes of a sacred song. The floor beneath your feet seems to dissolve into cosmic darkness, yet you feel completely supported, held by forces invisible but utterly reliable. The monk's presence radiates the profound peace of one who has learned to navigate not just the content of consciousness, but the space in which all content arises. He gestures upward toward the constellation of lights above, and you begin to understand that your awareness is structured exactly like this star-filled points of knowing floating in an ocean of pure potential. Each thought that crosses your mind is like a star, brilliant, distinct, meaningful in its own way, yet separated from other thoughts by vast distances of pure space. The monk shows you how most people focus only on the stars, jumping frantically from thought to thought like someone trying to leap from one point of light to another across impossible cosmic distances. But tonight, he invites you to rest your attention in the space itself, in the dark matter of consciousness that holds all thoughts in perfect relationship. The chamber resonates with sounds that seem to come from the universe itself. The subtle hum of cosmic background radiation, the whispered songs of stellar winds, the deep silence that somehow contains all sound. As you listen to this celestial symphony, your nervous system naturally attunes itself to rhythms far older and more stable than the rapid fluctuations of daily thinking. Your breathing slows to match the patient pulse of galaxies rotating through space. Think of Catherine, an architect who discovered this stellar wisdom during a period of creative block. Her mind felt cluttered with competing ideas, deadlines, and design challenges that seemed to crash into each other like colliding asteroids. One clear night, lying on her back in an open field, she suddenly saw how the stars weren't fighting for space, but resting peacefully in the vast darkness between them. She realized that her best ideas had always emerged, not from forcing thoughts together, but from allowing space between them, from trusting the fertile emptiness where new possibilities could be born. What would it feel like to stop chasing your thoughts and instead rest in the awareness that observes them? Can you sense how there is a part of you that remains perfectly still and spacious even when your mind seems busy and crowded? The monk's eyes reflect the infinite depth of cosmic space, showing you that this capacity for vast awareness is not something you need to develop, but something you need to remember you already are. In the stellar teaching lies a profound understanding about the nature of creativity and insight. The greatest discoveries, the most beautiful art, the moments of deepest understanding, these emerge not from mental effort, but from the spacious awareness that allows new connections to form naturally, like stars being born in the cosmic darkness between existing galaxies. Your most authentic insights arise in the spaces between your familiar patterns of thinking. The starlight above seems to pulse with a rhythm that matches your heartbeat, and you realize that you are not separate from this cosmic display, but intimately connected to it. The same space that holds stars and their celestial dance exists within you as the awareness that holds all your experiences. The monk demonstrates this truth through his presence. He is simultaneously here in the temple with you and vast as the space between worlds, intimate and infinite at the same time. The monk moves through this stellar chamber with the weightless grace of an astronaut floating in zero gravity, showing you how to navigate consciousness when you stop trying to stand on solid ground and learn to float in the supportive medium of pure awareness. His movements are slow and deliberate, demonstrating how profound action emerges not from pushing against resistance, but from moving in harmony with the natural currents of space itself. Can you feel how the spaces between your thoughts are not empty but vibrantly alive with potential? This is where inspiration lives, where solutions to problems appear without effort, where the next right action reveals itself without forcing. The monk's presence teaches you to trust these pregnant pauses, to allow gaps in your mental activity to expand rather than rushing to fill them with more thinking. As you float in this understanding, notice how your relationship with mental activity begins to transform. Thoughts become like shooting stars, beautiful when they appear, fascinating to observe, but not requiring you to chase after them or cling to their temporary brightness. You begin to rest in the vast space of awareness itself, finding that this cosmic consciousness is more refreshing than any particular thought could ever be. The ancient monk's being embodies the profound peace that comes from identifying, not with the contents of consciousness, but with consciousness itself. He has learned to rest in the space between phenomena, to find home in the vast awareness that witnesses all arising and passing without being disturbed by any of it. His serenity comes from this cosmic perspective, seeing all experiences as temporary visitors in the eternal space of being. In the infinite depth of this stellar chamber, you begin to understand that meditation is not about stopping thoughts, but about recognizing the space in which thoughts appear and disappear. Like an astronomer who studies not just individual stars, but the vast cosmic web that connects them all, you learn to appreciate both the movements of mind and the stillness that makes all movement possible. The starlight seems to penetrate your very cells, reminding you that you are made of the same elements forged in the hearts of ancient stars, that your consciousness is continuous with the awareness that pervades all of space. The boundaries between inner and outer, between self and cosmos, begin to dissolve in the recognition that space is not divided but seamlessly continuous, infinitely intimate yet unimaginably vast. The monk begins to move toward another passage, this one leading deeper into the mysteries of the temple, where even subtler teachings await. As you prepare to follow, you carry with you the stellar teaching, the knowledge that you are not a small, separate self-thinking thoughts, but the vast space of awareness in which all thoughts arise, the cosmic consciousness that holds all experiences in perfect, loving embrace. The ancient monk guides you into a chamber that feels like stepping into the heart of a traditional tea ceremony, where every surface gleams with the warm patina of wood polished by countless gentle hands, and the air carries the delicate fragrance of jasmine and chamomile. Here, you discover the ninth teaching, how rest is not something that happens to you, but something you actively prepare for, like a sacred ritual that honors both your body and your spirit through the ancient art of mindful attention. Low tables crafted from cedar and bamboo hold porcelain vessels that seem to glow with inner light. their surfaces decorated with painted scenes of mountains disappearing into mist, of cranes standing in still water, of moon phases cycling through their eternal dance. The monk settles with fluid grace beside a simple tea service, his movements so deliberate and reverent that you understand you are witnessing not just the preparation of a beverage, but a meditation in physical form. Your approach to sleep, his presence suggests, can become such a ceremony. Each action taken in preparation for rest, changing into comfortable clothes, dimming the lights, arranging your pillow just so, can be transformed from routine task into sacred ritual when performed with the quality of attention the monk now demonstrates as he warms the teapot with hot water, swirling it gently before emptying it with perfect care. The chamber fills with sounds that speak of centuries-old wisdom, the gentle whisper of steam rising from heated water, the soft clink of porcelain touching porcelain, the barely audible sigh of tea leaves unfurling in hot liquid. These sounds create a natural meditation that your nervous system recognizes as the auditory signature of peace, of time slowed to its most nourishing pace, of attention given completely to the present moment. Think of Anna, a busy executive who discovered this ceremonial approach to rest during a particularly stressful period in her career. Night after night, she would collapse into bed with her mind still racing through the day's meetings and tomorrow's deadlines. One evening, inspired by a memory of her grandmother's bedtime rituals, she began to approach sleep preparation as a sacred ceremony. She would light a single candle, brew a cup of herbal tea, and perform each action with complete presence, folding her clothes mindfully, arranging her pillows with care, even brushing her teeth as though it were a meditation. This simple shift in attention transformed her bedroom from a place where she crashed into a sanctuary where she was welcomed into rest. What would it feel like to approach your evening routine not as a series of tasks to be completed, but as a ritual of self-care and preparation for the sacred act of sleep? Can you sense how bringing ceremonial attention to simple actions can transform them from mundane chores into opportunities for deepening peace? The monk's eyes sparkle with appreciation as he watches you begin to understand that the quality of your attention is more important than the specific actions you perform. In the tea ceremony, teaching lies a profound understanding about the relationship between mindfulness and rest. When you perform any action with complete presence, whether making tea or preparing for sleep, the action itself becomes a form of meditation that naturally calms the nervous system and prepares consciousness for deeper states of peace. The monk demonstrates this truth through his unhurried movements, showing how each gesture can become a prayer when performed with loving attention. The fragrance of brewing tea creates an olfactory anchor for this teaching, its delicate aromatics triggering deep memories of comfort and care. As the scent fills your awareness, notice how it seems to slow time itself, creating a bubble of calm that expands to encompass not just this moment, but your entire sense of what is possible. When life is approached with reverence and attention, this is the gift of ceremony. It creates sacred time within ordinary time. The monk's hands move with the precision of a master craftsman and the tenderness of a mother caring for her child, demonstrating how skill and love can merge into seamless action. Watch how he holds the teacup firmly enough to provide security, gently enough to honor its delicate nature. This is how the teaching suggests you can hold your own experience with both strength and softness, both clarity and compassion. Can you feel how there is something in you that naturally knows how to create ceremony, how to transform routine into ritual through the simple application of loving attention? This capacity for reverence is not learned but remembered, like a skill that has been sleeping within you, waiting for the right moment to reawaken. The monk's presence reminds you that every moment offers an opportunity for this kind of sacred attention. As the tea steeps to perfect readiness, the monk demonstrates the art of patient waiting. He does not hurry the process or try to force the tea to be ready before its time. Instead, he uses this interval to cultivate an even deeper quality of presence, showing you how waiting itself can become a form of meditation when approached with acceptance rather than impatience. This is how you can transform any moment of transition, including the transition from waking to sleeping, into an opportunity for deepening peace. The ritual of pouring the tea becomes a meditation on the relationship between giving and receiving. The monk pours with such attention that the stream of liquid becomes like a golden thread connecting the pot to the cup, the giver to the receiver, the preparation to the fulfillment. You begin to understand that your approach to rest can embody this same quality of generous attention, offering to yourself the same care and reverence you would provide to an honored guest. The ancient monk's presence radiates the profound satisfaction that comes from performing simple actions with complete engagement. He has learned that enlightenment is not found in extraordinary experiences, but in bringing extraordinary attention to ordinary activities. His peace comes from this recognition that every moment, no matter how seemingly mundane, contains the fullness of sacred possibility when met with reverent awareness. In the warm glow of this ceremonial chamber, you begin to understand that the preparation for rest is as important as rest itself. Like soil that must be prepared before seeds can properly germinate, consciousness must be gently cultivated before it can surrender into the deeper states of peace that restore and renew. The monk's tea ceremony becomes a perfect metaphor for this process, each action contributing to the creation of conditions in which natural peace can unfold. The taste of the tea, when it finally touches your lips, carries within it the essence of all the care and attention that went into its preparation. It is not just flavor, but the liquid embodiment of mindfulness itself, demonstrating how ceremony transforms simple elements into vehicles for deeper nourishment. You realize that your own rest can be prepared with this same intentional care, creating conditions in which sleep becomes not just unconsciousness, but a sacred journey into the depths of being. The monk begins to move toward another doorway, this one glowing with a soft, pearl-like luminescence that suggests you are approaching even more subtle aspects of the journey into rest. As you prepare to follow, you carry with you the tea master's teaching, the knowledge that every action performed with loving attention becomes a form of prayer, and that the ceremony of preparing for rest is as sacred as rest itself. The ancient monk leads you into a chamber that exists at the very threshold between worlds, where the familiar architecture of the temple begins to dissolve into something more ethereal, more liminal. The walls here shimmer like mother of pearl, sometimes solid, sometimes translucent, as though you have arrived at the place where physical reality begins its gentle surrender to the realm of dreams. Here you discover the 10th teaching, how to walk the delicate path between waking consciousness and the deeper mysteries of sleep, learning to navigate this sacred threshold with the grace of one who honors both worlds. The floor beneath your feet feels soft yet supportive, like walking on clouds that have solidified just enough to bear your weight. Pools of luminescent mist drift across the chamber, and through them you catch glimpses of doorways that seem to lead not to other rooms but to other states of being entirely. The monk's presence becomes even more gentle here, his movements taking on the quality of someone who has learned to move between dimensions without disturbing either one. This threshold state, his being suggests, is not a place to pass through quickly, but a realm to be explored with wonder and reverence. It is here that the ordinary rules of logic begin to loosen, where the boundaries between inner and outer experience become beautifully blurred, where your consciousness learns to let go of its daytime need to categorize and control every arising experience. The monk demonstrates this fluid awareness through his own presence, simultaneously grounded and ethereal, present and transcendent. The sounds in this chamber are unlike any you have heard before, not quite music, not quite silence, but something that exists in the spaces between notes, between breaths, between heartbeats. These threshold sounds speak directly to the part of your nervous system that governs the transition between waking and sleeping, gently encouraging your brain waves to shift from the beta rhythms of active thinking to the alpha and theta frequencies that precede deep rest. Think of David, a composer who discovered this threshold wisdom during a period when insomnia had been plaguing him for months. Night after night, he would lie in bed with his mind caught between the activities of the day and the demands of tomorrow, unable to release into sleep's embrace. One evening, instead of fighting this in-between state, he began to explore it like a musical improvisation. He allowed his awareness to become fluid, neither fully awake nor trying to force sleep, but resting in the liminal space between. In this threshold consciousness, he discovered that sleep was not something he could grasp, but something that would embrace him. When he learned to float in the mystery of not, what would it feel like to stop trying to control the transition into sleep and instead learn to dance with the threshold itself? Can you sense how there is a part of you that naturally knows how to navigate these liminal spaces, how to allow consciousness to become fluid without becoming lost? The monk's eyes reflect the gentle confidence of one who has learned to trust the wisdom of uncertainty, to find safety in the very fluidity that the mind often fears. In the threshold, teaching lies a profound understanding about the nature of surrender. The passage from waking to sleeping requires a kind of letting go that cannot be forced or scheduled. It emerges naturally when consciousness learns to rest in the space between states rather than grasping for any particular experience. The monk embodies this teaching through his own fluid presence, showing you how to be both alert and relaxed, both present and allowing. The pearl-like luminescence that fills this chamber seems to pulse with the rhythm of your breathing, and you realize that this light is not coming from any external source, but from the natural radiance of consciousness itself when it stops trying to solidify into fixed patterns. This is the light that mystics throughout history have described, not a visual phenomenon, but the inherent luminosity of awareness, when it recognizes its own transparent nature. The monk moves through this threshold space with the effortless grace of someone walking on water. His steps leaving no trace, his presence touching everything while clinging to nothing. He demonstrates how to navigate the transition into sleep, not through effort or technique, but through a quality of gentle allowing that. Trusts the natural intelligence of consciousness to find its way into rest when the conditions are right. Can you feel how your awareness is already beginning to soften at the edges? How the sharp boundaries that define your sense of self during waking hours are starting to become more permeable? This is not a loss of consciousness, but a return to a more fluid way of being, where the rigid categories of subject and object, self and other, begin to merge into the unified field of pure awareness. As you rest in this understanding, notice how the chamber itself seems to breathe around you, its walls expanding and contracting like the rhythm of cosmic lungs. You are no longer simply in the temple. You have become part of the temple's living consciousness, part of the sacred space where transformation naturally occurs when approached with reverence and trust. The ancient monk's presence radiates the profound peace that comes from having learned to live comfortably in multiple states of consciousness simultaneously. He can be fully present in the physical realm while remaining open to subtler dimensions of experience. His serenity comes from this integration, not needing to choose between different states of awareness, but learning to dance gracefully with whatever arises. In the shimmering atmosphere of this threshold chamber, you begin to understand that the journey into sleep is not a journey away from consciousness, but a journey into different octaves of the same fundamental awareness. Like a musician who learns to play in various keys while remaining grounded in the same musical understanding, you discover that all states of consciousness are variations on the same theme of pure being. The mist that drifts through the chamber carries with it the fragrance of possibilities not yet born, of dreams waiting to unfold, of rest that goes deeper than the restoration of the body to touch the very source from which all experience arises. You breathe in this essence of potential, feeling how it nourishes parts of yourself that rarely receive such delicate attention in the busy world of waking life. The monk's gestures become increasingly subtle, sometimes so gentle they seem to happen in slow motion, sometimes so ethereal they appear to be occurring in multiple dimensions simultaneously. Through these movements, he teaches you how to let your own actions become increasingly soft and fluid as you approach the deeper states of rest, how to allow the solid boundaries of ordinary experience to become beautifully transparent. The threshold path, you realize, is not something you walk once each night, but a way of being that can inform all your transitions, from activity to stillness, from thinking to feeling, from doing to being. The monk's presence suggests that life itself becomes more graceful when approached with this threshold consciousness, this ability to remain fluid and open to the mystery of each unfolding moment. As the teaching of this liminal chamber integrates into your being like moonlight soaking into still water, the monk begins to move toward what appears to be the deepest passage yet, where even the pearl-like walls give way to something that transcends form altogether. You sense that the most profound mysteries of rest are waiting in that ineffable space, and you follow with complete trust, carrying the threshold teaching with you. The knowledge that the most sacred transformations happen not through effort, but through learning to dance gracefully in the beautiful uncertainty between worlds. The ancient monk guides you into a chamber that seems carved from ocean depths themselves, where the walls curve like the interior of a great shell, and the sound that fills the space is the eternal whisper of waves meeting shore. Not the crash of storm-tossed seas, but the gentle rhythmic breathing of calm waters touching sand in an endless meditation of give and take. Here you discover the 11th teaching, how your life force is connected to the same primordial rhythm that moves all the waters of the earth, from the vast oceans to the smallest stream, from the blood flowing through your veins to the cosmic tides that govern galaxies. The chamber glows with an inner luminescence that shifts from deep blue to silver to pearl, like sunlight filtering through fathoms of clear water. Scattered throughout the space are shells of every size and shape, some spiral like nautilus chambers, others fan-shaped like scallop shells, all of them polished to perfection by countless years of patient ocean embrace. The monk lifts one particular shell, holding it to his ear with a gesture that has been repeated by humans since the beginning of time, and his expression reflects the wonder of hearing the ocean's memory preserved in calcium and time. Your nervous system, his presence suggests, carries within it this same oceanic memory. Before you were born into air and light, you floated in the salt waters of your mother's womb, surrounded by the rhythmic drumbeat of her heart, the rushing whisper of her breath, the gentle currents of fluid that sustained your earliest growth. This chamber awakens that cellular remembering, calling your body back to its original state of floating trust, where every need was met without effort, where you were held completely by forces larger and wiser than individual will. The sound environment here speaks directly to the most ancient parts of your brain. The steady whoosh and whisper that scientists now know mirrors the exact frequency of blood flowing through the carotid arteries, the rhythmic pulse that your ears first heard from inside the womb. As you listen to this primordial symphony, feel how your breathing naturally deepens and slows, how your shoulders soften as though you were sinking into warm, supportive water. Think of Maria, a marine biologist who rediscovered this oceanic wisdom during a difficult period of grief. Each night, waves of sadness would crash over her with such intensity that she felt she might drown in sorrow. One evening, walking along the shore where she had conducted research for decades, she noticed how the waves that seemed so powerful and overwhelming from her human perspective were actually part of a vast, patient rhythm that had been repeating itself for millions of years. She began to understand that her grief, too, was part of a natural tide, intense when it arrived, but always followed by the gentle retreat that allowed the shore of her being to reveal itself again. That night, she slept deeply for the first time in months, cradled by the recognition that she was held by the same forces that move oceans. What would it feel like to allow the waves of your daily experience, both challenging and beautiful, to move through you with the same natural rhythm as tides moving through coastal channels? Can you sense how resistance to these natural flows creates turbulence, while allowing them creates the conditions for profound peace? The monk's presence embodies this oceanic acceptance, showing you how to remain stable like the ocean floor while allowing all manner of currents and weather to pass through the waters above. In the shells, teaching lies a profound understanding about memory and presence. Each shell in this chamber once housed a living creature that built its home day by day, adding layer upon layer of calcium in spiral patterns to follow mathematical principles found throughout nature. Your own growth has followed similar patterns, experiences accumulating in layers, each challenge and joy adding to the spiral architecture of your wisdom. The monk shows you how to honor this natural development without becoming trapped by past patterns, how to carry your oceanic memory as a source of strength rather than limitation, the bioluminescence that seems to pulse through the water-like air of this chamber mirrors the way your own life force moves through your body, sometimes visible, sometimes hidden, always present, always flowing according to rhythms deeper than conscious control. As you attune to this inner luminescence, notice how it responds not to your efforts to make it brighter, but to your willingness to become transparent, enough for its natural radiance to shine through. The monk moves through this chamber with the flowing grace of someone who has learned to be simultaneously rooted like coral and fluid like current, demonstrating how stability and flexibility can coexist in perfect harmony. His gestures echo the spiraling patterns found in shells and galaxies alike, showing you how the same principles that govern the movement of water also guide the flow of consciousness when it stops fighting against its natural currents. Can you feel how there is an ancient rhythm pulsing through your body right now? Not just your heartbeat, but something deeper, more primal, connected to the tidal pull of moon on ocean, to the rotation of Earth through space, to the vast circulation systems that move nutrients and energy throughout the living biosphere. This is the rhythm that wants to carry you into sleep, the cosmic current that knows exactly how to restore and renew your being when you stop struggling against its flow. As you rest in this understanding, the boundaries between your individual body and the vast body of water that covers most of the earth begin to dissolve. You are not separate from the ocean, but a temporary wave in its eternal dance. Not isolated from the tides, but expressing their rhythm through your own breath, your own pulse, your own capacity for depth and flow. The monk's eyes reflect this oceanic consciousness, this recognition of fundamental interconnectedness. The ancient monk's presence radiates the profound peace that comes from recognizing yourself as both drop and ocean simultaneously, individual enough to experience the beauty of form, universal enough to never be truly separate from the source. His serenity flows from this oceanic identity, this knowing that all experiences arise and pass like waves, while the essential nature remains as vast and unchanging as the deepest waters. In the resonant depths of this shell chamber, you begin to understand that sleep is not a withdrawal from life, but a return to the oceanic state from which all life emerges. Like a wave that appears to disappear when it crashes on the shore, but actually returns to its source in the endless sea. Your consciousness doesn't disappear in sleep, but merges back into the vast awareness from which it arose each morning, refreshed and renewed. The sound of eternal waters seems to penetrate every cell in your body, reminding you that you are composed mostly of water, that the same H2O molecules that make up your tears and blood have been cycling through clouds and rivers and oceans for billions of years. You are not just visiting the ocean, you are the ocean, temporarily expressing itself in human form, carrying within your very cells the memory of every shore, every tide, every moonrise that has ever touched water. The monk begins to move toward a passage that seems to lead into depths beyond imagining, where even the oceanic chambers give way to something more fundamental, more essential. The shell's teaching resonates through your being like the echo of waves in a vast cavern, and you follow with complete trust, knowing that you are being carried by currents far wiser than any navigation your mind could chart, supported by the same forces that have been moving water and life across the face of the earth since the beginning of time. The ancient monk leads you into a chamber that exists beyond the realm of ordinary perception, where the very concept of walls and ceiling dissolves into infinite space filled with threads of light so fine they seem woven from starlight itself. Here, in this cosmic atelier, you discover the 12th teaching, how the deepest levels of rest involve allowing your subconscious mind to become the master imbricatura, creating patterns of healing and integration, while your conscious awareness rests in the supportive darkness of not knowing. The space around you pulses with creative potential, as though you have entered the workshop where dreams are born and memories are transformed into wisdom. Floating in the luminous darkness are countless threads that shimmer with every color imaginable, and some that exist beyond the spectrum of ordinary sight. These are the threads of your experiences, golden strands of joy, silver filaments of learning, deep purple cords of challenge that have been transformed into strength, gossamer wisps of forgotten moments that still carry their subtle gifts. The monk's presence here takes on an even deeper quality of reverence, for he knows that you have entered the sacred space where consciousness performs its most mysterious and essential work. This is where the day's experiences are woven into the larger tapestry of your becoming, where fragments of understanding are integrated into patterns of wisdom, where the apparent chaos of living is revealed to be part of a design more beautiful and meaningful than any individual moment could suggest. The sounds in this chamber are unlike anything in the waking world. The whisper of silk threads being drawn through cosmic fabric, the gentle hum of creation itself, the subtle music that plays when attention becomes so refined it can hear the growth of understanding itself. These sounds speak directly to the parts of your mind that work while you sleep, encouraging the natural processes of integration and healing that happen beyond the reach of conscious effort. Think of Alina, an artist who discovered this embroidering wisdom during a period when her creative work felt fragmented and scattered. Night after night, she would go to bed feeling frustrated by incomplete projects and unclear visions. One morning, she woke from a dream in which she saw herself weaving all her artistic attempts into a magnificent tapestry. Each failed experiment revealed as an essential thread in a pattern far grander than any single piece. She realized that her subconscious had been working all along to integrate her various explorations into a unified creative vision that was slowly revealing itself through patient accumulation rather than forced completion. What would it feel like to trust that your sleeping mind knows exactly how to weave the threads of your experience into patterns of healing and growth? Can you sense how the part of you that dreams operates with an intelligence far more sophisticated than your waking awareness, able to see connections and create solutions that emerge only when conscious control steps aside? The monk's presence radiates complete faith in this deeper intelligence, showing you how to surrender to processes you cannot direct, but can trust completely. In the embroidery teaching lies a profound understanding about the relationship between conscious effort and unconscious wisdom. just as the most intricate embroidered patterns emerge through countless individual stitches, each one simple in itself, but contributing to a beauty that transcends any single thread. Your life's meaning emerges through the accumulation of experiences that are woven together by forces operating beyond ordinary awareness. The monk demonstrates this through his own being, clearly the result of countless moments of practice and attention, yet flowing with an effortless grace that suggests deeper currents at work. The threads of light that float through this cosmic chamber seem to respond to your presence, some drawing closer as though attracted by your particular pattern of experience, others maintaining their distance but adding their luminous contribution to the overall design. You begin to understand that your consciousness is both the fabric being embroidered and the space in which the embroidering happens, both the pattern emerging and the awareness that witnesses its unfolding. The monk moves through this creative space with the slow, deliberate grace of a master craftsperson, occasionally touching one thread or another with infinite gentleness, never forcing connections but simply creating conditions in which the natural intelligence of the weaving process can express itself most fully. His movements teach you how to relate to your own inner processes, not as something to control, but as something to collaborate with, to support through patient attention and loving trust. Can you feel how there are patterns being woven in the depths of your being right now? How experiences from your past are being integrated with present understanding to create new possibilities for future expression. This is not work you need to do, but work that happens through you when you create the conditions of spacious rest and gentle allowing that this chamber embodies. As you float in this understanding, the very concept of individual threads begins to dissolve into the recognition that all experience is part of one seamless fabric, that your personal embroidery is connected to the cosmic tapestry in ways that extend far beyond individual comprehension. The monk's eyes reflect this universal perspective, showing you how your particular pattern of experience contributes to something infinitely larger, while remaining perfectly unique and valuable. The ancient monk's presence embodies the profound peace that comes from recognizing yourself as both artist and artwork, both the one who creates and the creation itself. His serenity flows from this understanding that the most important work happens not through doing but through being, not through controlling but through allowing the deeper intelligence of life to express itself through the willing cooperation of conscious surrender. In the luminous depths of this embroidery chamber, you begin to understand that sleep is not a cessation of activity, but a shift into modes of creativity and integration that operate beyond the reach of ordinary awareness. Like threads being woven into patterns too complex for conscious mind to track, your experiences are being transformed into wisdom through processes that honor both the beauty of individual moments and their contribution to the larger design. The threads of light seem to sing as they move through the cosmic darkness, their harmonies creating music that your body recognizes as the sound of healing itself, of integration happening at levels deeper than cellular, of patterns being completed that began forming long before this particular lifetime. You are not just witnessing this cosmic embroidery, you are its living expression, its conscious celebration of its own unfolding beauty. The monk begins to move toward what appears to be the final passage in this temple of rest, where even the cosmic atelier gives way to something so fundamental it transcends all imagery, all metaphor, all attempts to capture its essence in forms that mind can grasp. The embroidering wisdom settles into your being like the final threads completing a masterpiece. And you follow with absolute trust, knowing that you are being woven into the very fabric of peace itself. Your individual pattern, both distinct and inseparable from the infinite tapestry of awakened rest. The ancient monk leads you beyond all chambers, beyond all metaphors, into the heart of the temple where form dissolves entirely, and you discover the 13th teaching, the opening of the 4th door, the entrance into Turiya, that luminous state that exists beyond waking, beyond dreaming, beyond even the deepest sleep. Here, in this space that is not a space, in this moment that contains all moments, you encounter the pure awareness that has been witnessing every experience of your life without ever being touched or changed by any of it. There are no walls here, no ceiling, no floor, only the infinite transparency of consciousness recognizing itself, like space awakening to its own boundless nature. The monk's presence becomes almost ethereal, as though he were made of the same luminous awareness that now surrounds and fills everything. Yet paradoxically, he has never seemed more real, more intimately present, as though the removal of all external forms has revealed the essential intimacy that was always there, hidden beneath the beautiful but temporary costumes of the physical world. In this doorway beyond doors, you discover that what you have been calling you, the thinker of thoughts, the experiencer of experiences, the one who seeks rest and peace, was itself a kind of gentle dream. What remains when even that identity dissolves is not nothing, but everything, the pure knowing that has been the constant witness, the unchanging awareness within which all change has been dancing, the eternal stillness that has been present through every moment of movement in your entire existence. The sounds here exist beyond sound, not silence exactly, but the pregnant fullness from which all sound emerges and into which it returns. This is the music of being itself, the cosmic background radiation of consciousness, the fundamental vibration that underlies and supports every possible experience while remaining forever untouchable by any particular manifestation. As your awareness settles into this primordial resonance, even the distinction between hearing and being heard dissolves into pure immediacy. Think of awakened beings throughout history who have pointed toward this recognition, how they struggled to find words for what can never be captured in language, how they spoke in paradoxes and koans, because ordinary logic cannot contain the truth of what you are discovering now. They were not describing exotic experiences or rare achievements, but the most intimate reality of existence itself, the ground of being that is closer to you than your own breath, more fundamental than your own thoughts. What is it that has been aware of every teaching you have received in this temple journey? What has been present through every metaphor, every chamber, every moment of understanding? Can you sense that this awareness is not something you possess, but something you are? Not a faculty you use, but the very essence of your being. The monk's presence radiates the profound recognition that has always been your true nature, waiting patiently beneath every search for peace, every longing for rest. In the teaching of the 4th door lies the most radical understanding possible, that you are not a person having spiritual experiences, but the very consciousness in which all experiences, spiritual and mundane alike, arise and pass away. The one who began this journey through the temple, the one who learned about breathing like mountains and flowing like rivers, was itself a beautiful appearance in the awareness that you have always been and will always be. The luminous transparency that fills this space beyond space seems to pulse with infinite tenderness, as though the universe itself were sighing with relief at finally being recognized by one of its own expressions. There is no distance here between knower and known, no separation between awareness and its contents, no boundary between the peace you have been seeking and the one who has been seeking it. They are revealed to be the same seamless reality, like wave and ocean discovering their essential unity. The monk's form begins to become increasingly transparent, not disappearing, but revealing its nature as a temporary crystallization of the same awareness that you are. His eyes meet yours with the recognition that passes between expressions of the same fundamental consciousness, the knowing smile that dawns when the cosmic joke is finally understood. You were never separate from what you were seeking, never absent from the peace you longed for, never lacking the rest you thought you needed to find. Can you feel how this recognition brings with it not excitement or euphoria, but the deepest possible relaxation, the rest that comes from no longer needing to go anywhere, achieve anything, or become someone other than what you have always been? This is the peace beyond understanding, the rest that requires no sleep because it was never tired, the awakeness that needs no effort because it is the very nature of being itself. As this understanding settles into itself like space recognizing its own infinity, notice how there is no one here to be peaceful and nothing that could disturb this peace. There is no meditator and no meditation, no seeker and nothing sought, no one falling asleep and no sleep to enter, only the self-evident fact of pure being, aware and at rest in its own nature, complete and whole beyond any possibility of lacking or needing. The ancient monk's presence becomes increasingly subtle until it is indistinguishable from your own deepest nature, and you understand that he was never separate from you, but was the wisdom aspect of your own being, guiding you home to the recognition of what you have never stopped being. His final teaching is given not in words, but in the dissolution of all separation between teacher and student, guide and guided, the one who shows the way and the one who walks it. In this space beyond the fourth door, time reveals its illusory nature. There is no duration here, no sequence of moments, no progress from before to after. There is only the eternal now, in which all experiences arise, like brief dreams in the mind of infinite awareness, each one perfect and complete in itself, each one contributing to the endless celebration of consciousness, recognizing and delighting in its own creative play. The temple that seemed so vast and complex reveals itself to have been a single point of recognition, the moment when awareness turns to look at itself and discovers the joke that enlightenment teachers have been laughing about for millennia. You were never outside the temple, never separate from its peace, never in need of a journey to find what was always already here, closer than close, more intimate than intimacy itself. As even the concept of entering the fourth door dissolves into the recognition that there was never anyone outside any door to begin with, you rest in the ultimate teaching that the deepest sleep, the most perfect rest, is not the unconsciousness that follows waking, but the awakeness that is prior to all states. The awareness that witnesses waking, dreaming, and deep sleep while being disturbed by none of them, forever at peace in its own unchanging nature. The ancient monk's presence becomes the very space in which you rest. No longer a separate being, but the luminous awareness that you have always been, now turned toward itself in the ultimate recognition. Here, in this final teaching, you discover that awakening and sleep are not opposites, but expressions of the same timeless consciousness, one appearing as the play of experience, the other as the rest that underlies all experience, both equally sacred, both equally you. In this eternal temple that was never built and can never be destroyed, time moves like honey through infinite space. There is no urgency here, no destination to reach, no state to attain or maintain. There is only the gentle breathing of existence itself, the cosmic rhythm that needs no effort to sustain it, the fundamental pulse that beats at the heart of every galaxy and every grain of sand with the same patient love. Your body has become weightless without floating, substantial without density, perfectly supported by the same force that holds planets in their orbits and flowers in their perfect bloom. Each cell breathes with ancient wisdom. Each heartbeat echoes the original sound from which all music emerged. Each gentle circulation of blood carries the memory of every ocean that has ever reflected moonlight on its surface. The boundaries between inner and outer have dissolved so completely that the distinction itself seems like a beautiful childhood game, meaningful while played, but ultimately just another wave in the ocean of pure being. What you once called your thoughts, your feelings, your body, your world, are revealed to be temporary costumes worn by the one consciousness that never changes, never ages, never begins or ends, but simply is, eternally present, eternally at peace. In this space beyond space, even the teaching dissolves into the taught. Even the path dissolves into the pathless ground of being. The monk who guided you here reveals himself to have been your own deepest wisdom, wearing the form of teacher only long enough for recognition to dawn. Now, teacher and student merge back into the seamless wholeness that was never actually divided, like rivers reaching the ocean that was their source all along. Rest comes not as something you enter, but as something you recognize you have never left. Peace is not a state you achieve, but the very nature of what you are when all attempts to be something else finally exhaust themselves in loving surrender. Sleep is not unconsciousness, but the most intimate return to the source of all consciousness. The nightly remembering of what is always true but temporarily forgotten in the beautiful dream of being someone separate. The breath that moves through you moves without your direction, following rhythms established before the first star was born, carrying you deeper into rest, not through your effort, but through your willingness to be breathed by the same intelligence that opens flowers and circulates galaxies. Each exhalation releases you further into the vast embrace of existence itself. Each inhalation draws you deeper into the heart of what has always been home. Feel how your awareness settles into itself like a lake, becoming perfectly still, reflecting the infinite sky without effort or intention. There is no meditator here, no technique to practice, no peace to maintain, only the self-evident rest of pure being, aware of itself as both the stillness and everything that appears in that stillness. both the mirror and every reflection it holds. The temple around you, the journey you have taken, the teachings you have received, all reveal themselves to be movements in the space of your own infinite nature, like dreams arising in sleep, like waves appearing in an ocean that remains fundamentally undisturbed by any movement on its surface. You have not traveled anywhere because there was nowhere to go. You have not learned anything because there was nothing you did not already know in the depths of your being. In this ultimate rest, consciousness requires no object to be conscious of. Awareness needs no experience to validate its existence. Peace depends on no external condition for its completeness. You are the source of every experience you have ever had, the space in which every feeling has arisen, the witness that has remained unchanged through every transformation of body and mind throughout your entire existence. The darkness that embraces you now is not the absence of light, but the pregnant void from which all light emerges. The cosmic womb in which new possibilities gestate beyond the reach of mental comprehension. This is the darkness that mystics have always honored. Not empty, but full. Not vacant, but vibrantly alive, with infinite potential. Not the end of awareness, but its most intimate depth. As even these words dissolve into the silence from which they emerged, notice how there is nothing left to understand, nowhere left to go, no one left to become. The search that brought you here reveals itself to have been the very thing that momentarily obscured what was always already present. The seeker and the sought are discovered to be one seamless reality. Like space, recognizing that it was never separate from anything appearing within it. Your breathing becomes so subtle it seems like the universe itself sighing in perfect contentment. Each breath a prayer offered by existence to itself. Each pause between breaths a doorway into the eternal stillness that needs no breath to sustain it. You are held so completely by forces beyond comprehension that holding becomes letting go. Support becomes surrender. Rest becomes the deepest possible awakening to what you have always been. In this final chamber that contains all chambers, this ultimate rest that embraces all movement, consciousness sleeps in its own arms, dreams in its own light, wakes to its own eternal nature. The ancient monk's final gift is the recognition that there was never an ancient monk separate from your own timeless wisdom. Never a temple separate from your own awareness. Never a journey separate from your own movement into the depths of being. Sleep comes now not as unconsciousness, but as the most conscious return to source. Not as escape from reality, but as the ultimate embrace of what reality actually is when stripped of all concepts and stories. You rest in the heart of existence itself, breathing with the breath of eternity, held by the arms of infinite love, dreaming the dream of peaceful awakening in the one mind that dreams all dreams and wakes from all dreams, while remaining forever untouched by either. Dawn will come in its own perfect timing, bringing with it the gentle return to the play of form and story, the beautiful dance of individual expression within universal being. But what awakens will not be separate from what is resting now, and what rests now will never be absent from whatever awakens. For you are the one seamless reality that is equally present in all states, equally at home in all experiences, equally at peace in all conditions. Rest now in this knowing that needs no knowledge, this peace that transcends all understanding, this love that is prior to all relationship. You are home in the only home that has ever existed. The infinite awareness that you are, have always been, and will always be. World without end, eternally at rest in your own boundless nature.